Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why? Or caught yourself struggling for a word that used to roll off your tongue? We all have those moments. But when they start happening more often, a little voice whispers, "Is this normal? Or is something wrong?" If you're in your 50s or 60s, you've likely helped a parent navigate aging. And maybe you have already promised yourself, "If I can do anything to keep my mind sharp, I'll do it." That is why we need to talk, because what is often overlooked isn't some rare disease or mystery illness. It's what's sitting in your bathroom cabinet right now. Certain everyday medications, yes, even ones your doctor may have prescribed, have been shown to accelerate memory loss, foggy thinking, and confusion in older adults. And the scariest part? These pills are everywhere. Maybe you take them for allergies or to help you sleep. Maybe it's for acid reflux or anxiety. The labels look innocent. The commercials make them sound like lifesavers. But under the surface, these drugs can act like slow drips, quietly eroding clarity, reaction time, and decision-making over months and years, until one day you realize something feels off. Now let me be clear. I'm not saying every medication is dangerous, not at all. Many are helpful and necessary, but some, especially in higher doses or when taken long-term, can interfere with how brain cells communicate. They can reduce acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter crucial for memory and focus. Without enough of it, even the healthiest brain can start misfiring. And here's where it gets personal. I've had friends, sharp, funny, vibrant people, who slowly became forgetful and foggy. At first, everyone assumed it was just aging. But once they reviewed their prescriptions, it turned out several of them were on medications now linked to cognitive decline. Once they made changes, with their doctor's help, the difference was night and day. It made me wonder, how many of us are unknowingly putting our minds at risk every time we pop a pill just to sleep better or ease an ache? You deserve to know the truth, and you deserve options. Because aging doesn't have to mean slipping away. You can stay mentally sharp, present, and fully you. But first, you need to know what to look for. So let's take a closer look at how these medications affect our brains, and what you can start doing differently today. Let's say you've been having trouble sleeping. Nothing serious, just the usual tossing and turning that comes with age. You go to your doctor, and they suggest a little something to take the edge off. Maybe it's a sleeping pill or an anti-anxiety medication. It feels like a blessing at first. But weeks pass, and you start to feel groggy during the day, a little out of it. Your energy dips, names start to slip. Now here's what many people don't realize. Medications in a class called benzodiazepines, often prescribed for anxiety or insomnia, can quietly impair memory. Drugs like diazepam, lorazepam, and alprazolam aren't new. They've been handed out for decades, but studies now show they're linked to a significantly increased risk of dementia, especially in older adults. It's not just the memory loss that's concerning, it's how gradual it is. You don't wake up one morning unable to think. Instead, it's slow, subtle. You lose track of the thread in conversations. You forget appointments you used to remember easily. And then someone says, "Well, we're all getting older," and you dismiss it. But this isn't just age, it's chemistry. And when you understand that, you can start to take back control. Another common culprit? Anticholinergic medications. That's a big word, I know. But in simple terms, these are drugs that block a chemical in the brain called acetylcholine. This chemical helps us learn, remember, and stay alert. If you block it long enough, things start to get fuzzy. You might be taking one and not even know it. Over-the-counter allergy pills, bladder control meds, some antidepressants, even motion sickness remedies. You're not doing anything wrong by taking them. You're following advice, trying to feel better. But too many of these for too long can create a fog that's hard to climb out of. Here's something that might surprise you. Even certain heart medications, especially ones used to treat high blood pressure, can have cognitive side effects in some people. It's not always about the drug itself. It's about how it's interacting with your body, your brain, and your other medications. That's why it's not about blame. It's about awareness. And sometimes the smallest shift, switching to a different prescription, adjusting a dose, spacing it differently, can lift that mental fog like opening the windows on a sunny day. And listen, I know it's not easy to question what's been routine for years. Many of us were raised to trust doctors without asking too many questions. But times have changed. Doctors today want you to ask. They want you to be informed. When you bring concerns to them calmly and clearly, most will work with you, not against you. So if you've been feeling off lately, not quite yourself, and you're on medications for sleep, allergies, or anxiety, it might be time to take a closer look. Not to panic, but to get curious. Because staying sharp and strong into your 70s and 80s isn't about luck. It's about making mindful, informed choices that protect the most powerful part of you, your brain. Sometimes it starts with something as simple as feeling not quite right. Maybe it's forgetting where you left your glasses or standing in the kitchen wondering why you walked in. You brush it off. After all, who doesn't forget things now and then? But deep down, a little voice whispers, is this normal aging or something else? Let's talk about a class of medications that many older adults take without blinking. Antidepressants, particularly older ones like amitriptyline or doxepin. They've been used for decades, and for good reason. They work for many people. But for some, especially after 65, these medications can cross the blood-brain barrier and quietly dull cognition. Not immediately, not obviously, but little by little. You might find your motivation shrinking, your focus fading. That sharpness you once had just doesn't feel as crisp. And again, it's subtle. You might just feel tired or foggy. You might even chalk it up to depression getting worse. But what if it's the very pill meant to help you that's contributing to that fog? And it's not only prescription pills. Another hidden culprit that sneaks into daily life is over-the-counter sleep aids. You've probably seen them, those PM versions of pain relievers or allergy meds. They make you drowsy because they contain diphenhydramine or doxylamine, both of which have anticholinergic effects we talked about earlier. If you're using them regularly, especially if you wake up groggy, have trouble concentrating, or feel more forgetful the next day, you may be facing more than just a temporary side effect. Long-term use of these medications, even when bought without a prescription, is linked to increased dementia risk. It can be frustrating, can't it? You're trying to do the right thing, manage your sleep, your mood, your aches, and yet the very tools meant to help may be quietly working against your mind. Now let's get into something a little more surprising. Proton pump inhibitors, PPIs. These are the medications often used for heartburn or acid reflux, like omeprazole or esomeprazole. They can be incredibly effective in managing discomfort. But emerging research suggests that long-term use may reduce the absorption of vitamin B12 and magnesium, both of which are critical for brain health. A deficiency in B12 can mimic dementia symptoms. It can make you forgetful, confused, even irritable. And again, you might never suspect the cause is your heartburn medication. This is why it's so important to take inventory of what's going into your body. Every pill, every supplement, every remedy, whether prescribed or over-the-counter, can interact with your mind in ways you might not expect. And here's something that might empower you. Doctors and pharmacists aren't just there to hand you pills. They're there to help you make better choices. If you're concerned about a medication, bring it up. Ask if there are safer alternatives, especially ones that don't cross into your brain's delicate chemical balance. Your brain is your most precious asset. It holds your memories, your identity, your stories, your sense of humor, your stubbornness, your sparkle. You deserve to protect it fiercely, not with fear, but with clarity. And that means giving yourself permission to ask questions, stay curious, and keep learning. Because every step you take toward protecting your brain today is a gift to your future self. Let's keep going. There's more ground to cover, and one of the biggest surprises is still ahead. Now let's talk about something that often slips under the radar, and yet it's in the cabinets of millions of households. Antihistamines, the kind you take for seasonal allergies or an itchy rash. Sounds harmless enough, right? But here's the thing. Older, first-generation antihistamines like diphenhydramine, chlorpheniramine, and hydroxyzine don't just block histamine. They also block a key neurotransmitter in the brain called acetylcholine. That name might not mean much at first, but it plays a huge role in memory, learning, and attention. So when you dull it, your mind feels dull too. It doesn't always feel dramatic. Sometimes you just start losing your words mid-sentence, or you can't remember that actor's name who's been in everything. Maybe you forget what day it is more often. And again, you chalk it up to age. But the truth is, it might be the tiny white tablet you take every night before bed, just to keep the sneezes away. Now here's a twist many don't expect: urinary incontinence medications. Drugs like oxybutynin or tolterodine are meant to calm overactive bladders, and they can make a big difference in quality of life. But at what cost? These medications also have strong anticholinergic properties, which means, just like those antihistamines and antidepressants, they reduce your brain's access to acetylcholine. And when you start stacking those effects, say you take one for sleep, one for allergies, and another for bladder, you could be silently accelerating memory loss without knowing it. It's especially tricky because the symptoms of dementia and medication side effects often overlap. You might experience confusion, disorientation, mood swings, even anxiety, and assume it's part of aging or early Alzheimer's. But take away the culprit meds, and sometimes, miraculously, clarity returns. Let's not forget another big one: benzodiazepines. Medications like lorazepam, diazepam, or alprazolam are often used for anxiety, panic, or sleep. They offer short-term relief, no doubt about it. But they're also powerful sedatives that interfere with your brain's ability to form new memories. Long-term use, especially in older adults, has been repeatedly linked to a higher risk of developing dementia, and they're addictive. You build tolerance, you need more. And when you try to stop, withdrawal can cause even more confusion and emotional distress. And yet these medications are still widely prescribed, often for far longer than recommended. Here's what makes this whole issue so heartbreaking. So many people, especially seniors, blame themselves when their mind starts to feel foggy. They think they're slipping. They worry they're becoming a burden. But in truth, it's often the medications, not the person, that are stealing that mental sharpness. The brain doesn't go soft overnight. It usually takes a trigger, sometimes several, layered one on top of another. And when we don't know where to look, we point the finger at age. But age isn't the enemy here. Unquestioned prescriptions are. Now, I want you to do something gentle but powerful. Take a few minutes today, just 10, to look through your medicine cabinet. Write down what you're taking regularly and ask yourself, do I really need this? Is there a better, safer way? Because knowledge is protection, and advocating for yourself isn't rude, it's wise. There's one more category of medication we need to talk about, and it's one many would never suspect. But understanding it could help preserve the clarity and independence you've worked a lifetime to earn. Last, and maybe the most surprising group of medications that could be affecting your mind without you realizing it: proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs for short. These are medications like omeprazole and pantoprazole, and they're commonly used to treat acid reflux, heartburn, and GERD. They're available both by prescription and over the counter. If you've ever had that uncomfortable burning in your chest after a meal and reached for something to calm it down, chances are you've taken one of these. At first glance, it doesn't seem like something that would affect your brain. It's a stomach medication after all. But here's where things get interesting and concerning. Long-term use of PPIs has been linked in multiple studies to an increased risk of dementia in older adults. Researchers believe it may have to do with vitamin B12 absorption. You see, your stomach acid plays a key role in breaking down food, and B12 deficiency is notorious for causing memory loss, confusion, and even symptoms that mimic dementia. Add to that the fact that PPIs can affect gut bacteria balance, and the gut and brain are deeply connected, and it starts to paint a clearer picture. What you take for your stomach might be messing with your clarity, your mood, even your motivation. It's not about blaming the medications themselves. In many cases, they were developed with good intentions, and they've helped a lot of people. The problem is when we use them too long, too often, or without realizing what they might be doing in the background. It's also worth noting that when you take multiple medications that each have small cognitive side effects, the result can be a kind of silent storm. You don't notice a big change at first. Maybe you're just a little more tired, a little more forgetful. But over time, those little changes compound, and suddenly, you feel like you're not quite yourself anymore. That's why today's message isn't about fear, it's about awareness. So many people over 60 are walking around thinking their memory is failing because of age, when really it's medication side effects no one warned them about. That foggy feeling, that forgetfulness, that I walked into the room and forgot why I'm here moment. It might not be your brain aging, it might be a side effect, plain and simple. And here's the empowering part. When you know what to look for, you can have real conversations with your doctor. You can ask, is this still the best option for me? You can request alternatives. You can ask for a lower dose or a gradual taper. You can ask about lifestyle-based changes that might reduce your need for certain medications altogether. Because you deserve to feel clear. You deserve to feel sharp. You've got too much wisdom, too many stories, too many good years ahead of you to spend them behind a mental fog that could have been lifted with one conversation. You have the right to question. You have the right to choose. And you have the right to protect your mind, just like you've protected everything else in your life so far. There's one last thing I want to leave you with. It's something that doesn't come in a pill bottle, and yet it's one of the most powerful prescriptions we have, and that's curiosity. Staying curious, asking questions, not accepting every change in your body or mind as just part of getting older. That kind of mindset, it keeps you sharp, it keeps you independent, it keeps you powerful, and that's something no medication should ever take from you. Now, if anything we talked about today hit home for you, even just a little, I want to gently encourage you to do one thing. Take a look at the medications you or a loved one might be using. Don't throw anything out. Don't panic. Just make a list. Write them down. Note when you started. Ask yourself how you've been feeling over time, mentally, emotionally, physically. Then take that list with you to your next doctor's visit. Bring it up kindly but firmly. Could any of these be affecting my memory or mood? A good doctor won't be offended. They'll be glad you're being proactive. And if they dismiss your concern, get a second opinion. You're allowed to do that. You're encouraged to do that. This is your life, your brain, your future. I've seen too many sharp, capable, brilliant people start slipping, not because of aging, but because no one warned them about the cognitive costs hidden in their daily pill organizer. But now you know, and knowledge gives you options. Options give you control, and control gives you confidence again. You are not helpless, you are not broken, and you are certainly not alone. If you've been feeling off lately, more forgetful, less energetic, more emotional or confused, start here. Don't jump to conclusions. Just start here. Medication is a tool, not a sentence. With the right guidance, you can adjust your plan, reduce risks, and give your brain the space to breathe, repair, and reawaken. You've come too far in life to lose touch with yourself now. And remember, your brain is like any other muscle. It needs care, it needs the right fuel. And sometimes it just needs a little less of what isn't helping. If this video made you think, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe you've experienced something like this, or maybe you've helped a parent or friend through it. Your story might just help someone else take that first step. And if this helped you, consider subscribing. We make videos to empower people just like you, smart, thoughtful, experienced adults who want to keep living life on their own terms. Here's to clarity, courage, and protecting the best parts of ourselves at every age.